Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Marco Carniello, and on behalf of Italian Exhibition Group, I'd like to thank you to being here in this new normality and back to the world of Vicenza Oro. What you're going to see today is something you used to see as well during our days on our show in Vicenza and Arezzo as well. So we are back, but on the air with this new beautiful channel where you're going to see more and more webinars from now on. Today we starting with TRENDVISION forecast with two of our most known professionals of the Vicenza Oro community. We have today Paola De Luca. She is a co-founder of TRENDVISION and creative director of TRENDVISION, especially for the part of research and forecasting. And we have with us Francoise Izaute, our French senior advisory of the jewelry industry. She is also a board member of Confindustria Federography, one of the most representative association of manufacturers in Italy, and she has plenty of experiences in the jewelry sector, starting from Cartier to other luxury brand. So today we're gonna stay together for about 50 minutes, 50. We leave 10 minutes out of those 50 minutes for Q&A. So please do use the chat box you see on your right, and it will be a pleasure to answer to all your questions. I'll pose to our special guests. So thanks again. Now I leave the online stage to my friends. Thank you, Paola, and thank you, Francois, again.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you very much. Well, I wish to thank everybody, Vicenza and the audience, for this time. We are launching today our e-learning program, which is really a series of learning sessions on forecasting strategy, product directions, and consumer culture. So the idea is that every month, and maybe we intensify the series, we will talk about something that will be focusing on strategy, product direction, consumer culture, social cultural shifting, and so on. So today, to start this the program, we'll start with why forecasting. And I asked my very good friend, Francoise Izaute, to join as a manager, someone that has been directing and coordinating international projects in the luxury and jewelry industry. So I think she will be a wonderful translator of what is forecasting and why is forecasting from, let's say, an academic approach to a business approach. So today, I'd like to start with this session, why forecasting. Digitization is bringing radical changes in the jewelry and luxury sector, planning, imaging, and product cycle. And I'd like to actually immediately give the word to my friend, Francoise.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Paola. I am really delighted to be here with you and with all the people that I see are registering on this first webinar. I really do hope I can contribute and bring some elements of difference, of help, of support. I wanted just to, as an introduction, I wanted to really to give two inputs. One was about never waste a good crisis. And actually, this is a quote from a very famous person. His name is Winston Churchill. And it's really interesting how then when we know that the same word crisis in Chinese means as well opportunity, all this, it somehow makes sense. So we shall not waste this time we have had and we have, that we had to step back and take some time away from the physical space of our companies, of our offices. And maybe this has been a really good time for us to challenge the norm, to get some new insights, to have the courage to ask ourselves some questions. And to have an open mind environment, maybe be more receptive to what people around us have to say. And actually, when things go wrong, maybe it's the best time to think out of the box. So I think this webinar, as the first one, is really a perfect timing. We have this time to think through and start the thinking process from start, actually forecasting. So I will go then to my next chart, again, like an input for today. Some years ago, with Bocconi University, which is actually a business school in Italy, I believe the best business school in Italy, we wrote a book about the jewelry industry. And the title was, "You have to distinguish yourself if you don't want to extinguish." And I believe that this is so true today as well. So everything we are going to see, in terms of how to forecast, why to forecast, how to plan, how to look at creativity, how to look at cycles, which is Paola's presentation, I think we always have to remember how to be different, to do the things, to do the thinking as it has to be done, to apply the strategy, but do it in a different way. Because probably what we know today is that we are so many on the market. And so, probably only the best one will be able to make it through. So let's bring this note of creativity not only into the product, but also into the strategy. Paola, the floor is yours.
Yes. So I'd like to say, to really have like a moment on what is forecasting, because very often people, when they associate people like me to trends, they are expecting product directions, colors, textures, which they are part of the process, but that's not the beginning of the process. The beginning of the process is really, and this is where we are very strict and serious about it, is like the methodology and approach to business. So forecasting is the use of historical data to determine the direction of future trends. And now, never like before at this time and age, data are the biggest asset and value for every company. Data, with the big data and data are the ones that the companies are purchasing to really detect and be knowledgeable about consumer culture, consumer behaviors, on demographic, geographic, market segment, and so on. Forecasting is used by companies to determine how to allocate their budget for the upcoming segment of time, mapping businesses' objectives and practices. And the research is elaborated and collected, like I said, with tangible data. And at times also with focused survey. So based on a company need, a research can be proprietary research and exclusive research based on their company needs. So it's not by chance that at time one particular design motif might become successful. It's not a chance why a certain color will be successful, because there is a great amount of work and study around, and most of the time trends are not forced, especially at this time and age, but they are studied and explored based also on consumer psychology, consumer emotion, and based on what's happening around. Trend forecasting is essential knowledge for any company for planning with methodology and system, whatever it is, a business strategy, a collection, mapping a production cycle. but also and especially entering a geographic market or segment. So very often, you know, manufacturer, a designer, they are interested in entering the Chinese market or the Indian market or the American market. It doesn't matter which market. I'm often in Asia, in the Far East, and they're talking about Europe being a market. But Europe, we know very well that, you know, every nation, every country in Europe have a different culture. There is a different distribution. It's extremely fragmented. So with Francoise, we were talking about exporting. So every country has their own, let's say, problematic issue with export, and understanding local consumer culture will determine the success of your product assortment or not, beside communication. So it's very important to be aware of the consumer and the type of distribution that you will find in one particular country. So when I was anticipating market scanning, wherever you are going and you are targeting to be, North America, it's very different from, let's say, urban area from suburban area. So it is Northern European countries to Southern European. So that is very important. And this is understanding these kind of differences. It's part of what we call strategizing our activities and planning. And it's very, very important to do so. So this information are helping us to reposition a company, a brand, a professional. So let's say these methodologies, not just for a company, for a large corporation, but even as a professional, as an independent professional, as an individual, is a way of approaching. And this is like very important. There is not, in the second part of the presentation, I love Francoise' segment that she will introduce you on interesting topics, which are all related. Planning a marketing activity, a marketing campaign, an omni-channel perspective will be very important. Also the development of content. What kind of content, what kind of insights are we going to develop for one particular consumer? Because right now, this is the first session that we're having about forecasting. We're talking about methodology, but in the following sessions, meaning from June onward, we'll talk about content. What do people need? What consumers are seeking for? Who are we? How are we changing after COVID-19 and how the luxury and jewelry industry is changing? We're seeing emotional, cultural atmosphere that consumer will be driven to, will be very important. So why forecasting? Well, because the demographic scenario and the psychographic scenario is very complex. I've been hearing in the last few years a lot about millennials, and it's almost the fashion word is trending to talk about millennial. But unfortunately, I understand that very few professionals and companies can read and detect the difference between, you know, the really understanding market clusters. Millennials are very important for a certain particular market segment, but don't forget your Gen Z. And please take a look at Generation Z and Generation X, that they are like kind of the two opposite. Generation Z, which are younger to millennial, and they immediately coming after the Gen X, which are only 40 to 55. These people, they have great spending, they are collectors, they are buying your better product. Millennials are buying your medium product. And so it's very important to understand the consumers and also what kind of content. We'll see later on in the presentation, we're talking about engagement and engaging, and we're talking about consumer values. But consumer values have changed during the last decade. You know, forget COVID-19, which has even drastically created a strong, let's say, disruption before the corona and after corona. But even consumer values have changed in terms of couple, relationship, individual self-expression, imperfection, that all these values have changed the perspective of purchasing jewelry, of expressing ourselves, and also exchanging love and vows. Environmental changes. So environmental changes, again, economy, but also the environment being sustainable or not sustainable, as in business, for instance. And the pandemic event and the stop of the entire globe has created an important time lapse, an important pause. Then it's going to create more awareness in the environment, in having an ethical approach to business, not also in business practice, but also that type of jewelry they will be looking for, but not only jewelry, an entire lifestyle and vision, then is actually suggesting and anticipating new cultural wave like slow acceleration, holisticism, siloless vision. But we'll talk about that later today, but also on June 8th during the next webinar. Socio-cultural shifting, the new normal, diversity, inclusivity, local sentiment. The world, and even other countries, including Italy, is more multi-ethnic. We are becoming more global at home. And this exchanging of information, this listening and sharing, and it's crucial the way we are going to be selling our jewelry, but also thinking and communicating. Occasions will be very important, but let's think about also occasion in China, in India, in other parts of the world, which might not always be the ones where we live in. Digital age, the acceleration of digitization is very, very important. During the last 2 months, there is a new technology that has emerged, which is an emotional technology. It's live. I mean, the live events are stronger than ever. This live event is bringing an emotional element. This emotional element is going to help us to present our company, present our businesses, present collection, create event, and have a constant dialogue with our customers and keep our network alive. This is a classic example of what we're doing as Fiera di Vicenza to keep an ongoing dialogue and even grow the dialogue and a community and a following with the industry. Omnichannel communication in terms of content, marketing, and sales. So all this area will be and is already explored further. Once again, let's not forget what we call the emotional technology, this element of emotion. Until now, technology was used as phone, with the website, but now social networks are stronger than ever. Each platform requires different language, a different type of communication, different medium of communication, and maybe even different type of products to communicate. So we have to become specialists, and if we are not specialists, we have to partner with specialists to be able to excel. And so this is a moment where partnering and gathering together is essential to be successful. The consumer landscape has changed. There are new values, we said a new norm, and this is a transformation age. Going back to what Francoise said, don't waste the crisis, taking it from Winston Churchill. Yes, this is a very difficult time, very challenging, but this is an incredible time to be visionary and dreamers, because the future is of the visionaries. It's now that we have to create a better future, and we have to create a business opportunity. So how can we wrap up our business, our forecasting, let's say, steps? With phase 1, research being data, numeric data, but also semiotic data. Whatever your objective, do a good research, collect all your information, analyze your information with your team and with your expert, and then come up with a strategy. The strategy translates into listing all the steps and activity to execute in the following seasons. And then be creative. Creative doesn't mean just being on a desktop, but creative, it means in terms of vision. And the creative moment, the think tanking, the creative workshop have to happen simultaneously with design, marketing, and sales. All together, these three elements are the success of a company. We have to think together. You can be a manufacturer, you can be a trade show, you can be an agency, it doesn't matter. It's together that the magic happens. The design development translates into designing together a campaign and executing a concept. The product has to be already imagined with the shooting, with the visual language, with the color, with the semiotic element of the communication, but also the medium has to be together. Again, what kind of medium? Is it a social network? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it a video? How are we communicating? How can we talk? Let's not forget, a few years ago, Tiffany was in deep crisis. They forced themselves to revamp, and it was necessary to be online to communicate to a new consumer, because despite the blue box was not enough, the blue box was not relevant for millennial and now Gen Z. There is a new way of communication and the values are different. So let's not take for granted that the values and the I love you was only the past way. Now, gender fluidity, a new way of being couple, communicating, even self-love has changed. Men are buying jewelry and they are not ashamed, they are not scared, they are not shy of wearing diamonds, of wearing pearls, of wearing. So we have to embrace new society value. Last but not least, the production segment. And last, phase 3, what we call omni-channel scenario. We have entered now and forever PHIGYTAL age, which is like the blurred line between online and offline. Everything has to happen simultaneously. I have been talking to retailers, Italian and abroad. Yes, it is true that people want to try jewelry on, but people is also shopping online. And there is a new generation, the digitally native, that they are buying online. They are not shy of buying online. Maybe Gen X, meaning the 40 and older, they need to try. Please have a siloless vision, meaning look at other sectors like the makeup industry, which is using augmented reality to create apps where people can try makeup on with an app by scanning their face with the phone and trying eyebrow shapes or a hair color. This augmented reality will happen also for jewelry. More apps will be developed to try an earring, an ear cuff, a ring. So there are new frontiers that we have to still meet. Important element, production cycle. This is just a very simple calendar that I personally started from September to August, but really is not ending in August. In the event that you start in September, you end in September. A cycle. Usually a cycle, a product development cycle can last 6 months to a year. But definitely, you need time to research, analyze, think tank, meaning coming up with a strategy, work on, like I said, your creative and creative development of all the area of business. So let's not create product without thinking at the marketing campaign at the same time, because otherwise you might actually have a failure. Just an example, entering a market, in China market, example of how very often people that they are not, and they don't know the Chinese market or the Indian market or the market, they don't know that particular consumer. So it's important to understand the level of sophistication or the segmentation of one particular market and the fragmentation, urban and suburban, market segment, medium, high, or low. So all this information are very important, all the, let's call it, parameters of information that we have to collect to enter a market. Otherwise, once again, we are not going to succeed. Just an example of one of the consumer in this particular case. You can see the visual language, what kind of colors, of lines, of communication, of simplicity. So this was created even before the product was created. Understanding who, what, where, and when, and why these consumers are living, what it is that they're doing, what are they like, behaviors. And then in this particular case was like bridal segment, engagement and wedding product. In this particular case, China, it's very similar market to the US market for bridal. So similar trends, similar concept, but translated for a Chinese consumer, which is different than an American consumer, being more flashy, versus a Chinese is more minimal. So this is part of planning and having an educated creativity when approaching a creative project. And then design. So with this slide, I kind of wrap up my segment. Of course, I want to anticipate the next, webinar. But I'd like now to pass the presentation to Francoise, which will take it to the next level. And I like Francoise to basically take it forward and so be more practical. Thank you, Francoise.
Thank you so much, Paola. And yeah, well, what I thought I would be doing, let me put it here. Okay, start. I wanted to give some hints, just for us to have this time, this moment of reflection together. And I like to play with words. So this is a start. Of course, we are in what we call, we hope it is a post-pandemic age. Maybe it's not exactly post, maybe we're still during. We all had our lockdown, and some of us are, going back to a life which is different from what it was. Which I called, from smart working to mask working. But this is something we are seeing, for example, in Italy. Companies have reopened about 10 days ago, some just yesterday, some today, sorry. And there are new norms to how to work within this new situation. Another point which I find very interesting is an accelerator. We used to talk a lot about sharing economy. And I think that these last 2 months, it already was there. We could feel the roots, but I think we are now entering into a caring economy. And this is something quite important when we think about our business and what we want to do. It's the idea of caring for whatever is around us. It's as this kind of social note, which can be developed at different levels. We used to be very, very good at face-to-face meetings. We used to take a flight and go to Hong Kong or go to Las Vegas. That was not a problem. It was almost, it was quite a must. Well, we've learned that we can do voice-to-voice Zoom meetings or webinars. And actually, we are seeing it works well. So it's something that we know will be part of our life in the new norm. The last is something that we talked a lot, and Paola, of course, has covered it. It's what I call O2, O2, O2O. And I think it's all discussion about online and offline. And I think from a Western side of the world, we used to think offline and how, we could bring the online into the offline business. From an Asian part of the world, I think it was already quite different. It was already online. How can we integrate the offline into the online? And to tell the truth, this has been extremely accelerated by the coronavirus, by COVID-19, as well as by new generation. When we talked about generation Alpha, well, they were born with online only. So I think it's quite important for us to go through the process, thinking what else can the physical bring that I couldn't give through the digital. And so still playing with word, I would go to the E age. What is it? First, well, the easiest, of course, is the e-commerce. What did we learn for e-commerce? We actually learned the 24 hours a day, the 365 days a year. That has changed quite a lot. You were used to the 9 to 5, 5 days a week. So that's quite a big, big change. No more difference, no more time difference. I can be asleep and my consumer can see my product. That's another part of the e-commerce. We've learned that we can speak with our end consumers. And so back to forecasting, we can gain insights directly. We can somehow exchange views with our clients, with our potential customers. We can communicate all the social networks. We can sell. And actually this, for sure, is taking us to a much more efficient pipeline. Whoever was on a webinar last week, one of our colleagues mentioned this idea of it was the exact same change we had, as consumer from Blockbuster to Netflix. And I find this example so interesting because really it's what is happening. And that happens also with jewelry. What does it mean? It means that not only I know who is buying, I know almost everything about them, but I can also forecast what they're buying. So I can produce what I'm forecasting they're buying. Well, I'm forecasting their needs. So it makes, of course, the pipeline much more efficient. And of course, the e-commerce is absolutely no more an option. Maybe, I know this is not true for international, but maybe for Europe and for Italy, it looked like it was an option up to some months ago. I must say that as a conclusion of e-commerce, I was the first one to be so surprised by how well we can succeed in selling online. We learned that we need, if we don't have at all the physical approach, we have to see how to, if our product is, or our company, or our idea, or our plan is photogenic, or is it videogenic? How much can we say in a short time, and what is going to be the best channel? But the fact that we know how jewelry, is made, how it works. We understand the 3D, we understand the volume as much as we can say transparently and truthfully to our customer. The better off we would be in selling online. Let's go to export. Well, that's the 85% is worth for the Italians. It just mentioned that 85% of Italian production is exported, but I know that we have with us many participants who are in countries that are very, very strong exporters. And export, again, is no more a choice. We have been able to open the world, the globality of the world, but of course we have to make some choices. We have to look at markets for how big they are. If we look at the globe, the big jewelry markets, where are they? But we also have to look at the barriers to enter those markets. So whether it's Europe or the Middle East or China, Japan, the US, each market is very peculiar. Each company has, there are many, many seminars and webinars available on the checklist for exports, and especially in terms of, the products, the culture, how to enter really fastly, how not to make how to protect the risk, if you wish. So somehow I believe that the world is available to everybody. So anybody can export, whether we are a manufacturer, a retailer, wherever we are at the level, whichever level of the pipeline. So the offer is quite crowded. It's our business somehow all together to make sure the demand increases, but for sure there might be a little bit less wind in the coming month. And as we all know, in a regatta, when there is less wind, there is still one boat that is going to win. So this is to say that we will have to be quite very strong and to battle in the next month to make sure we bring the results we want. Let's talk about ethics. As an industry, I think we've done a lot on a self level to make sure, we would be sustainable, we would be ecological. There have been so many projects, real projects, online projects which are really happening. Of course, all the fact, I mean, all the theme of circular economy, of responsibility. I think all this was more part of what I would call sharing economy, where we had to do it, to certify it, and somehow to share it with the world. It was like, it is still like an ID card to enter markets, to enter clients, and so on. I think what I've seen is all this is a given and it has to happen. And we have one more dimension, which is about the caring model. I think that each of us in its own company, whatever, again, at whichever level we are, we have to increase this part for many possibilities. I mean, we have so many examples from the big brands. What we've learned the last 2 months, that we don't only have to be a big brand or an international company to do that. Thanks to the social network, really any individual can have a caring message or a caring program or a caring positioning, not only to say, but of course to do. So that's about really, I think that's one of the questions that we were obliged to ask ourselves, is that before we didn't have time to think about the future. And now, you know, it's about what type of future do we want, or do we want to live? Back to my E's. So I have 2 here, which are emotion and engagement. These are very, how can I say, we've used them a lot in our industry for many years. Emotion, well, we are so good at it. We are really the industry that knows how to bring emotion to whoever is willing, you know, aspiring to buy, buying, wearing. So let's say that maybe we shall try to do it better, just to make sure that there is not another industry that's going to take this part of the business. Maybe, as Paola was saying, we can use more about emotional connectivity. So it's just not only the product, it's just not only the occasion, it's just not only that message, but it's how we are going to stay connected with the brand, with the product, and during the purchase and after the purchase. How can we are going to give this long lasting in, you know, in the emotion. Another point is, you know, how have we been so good in creating new, you know, occasions, new life occasion, self occasions. How can we bring new ideas? That would be the perfect excuse to buy a piece of jewelry. And that's about the emotion. About the engagement, I think it's kind of going farther already. It's this long-term trust. What we sell, it's an emotion forever. It's an emotion that will go, you know, generation to generation. It's like the client becoming part of our brand life, is connected to what we do. And it's back to our client, you know, who is becoming our influencer, is becoming our best influencer. From everybody from the Western world, we used to say that, you know, happy client getting out of a store would tell about 3 people that he was so happy about this experience. And then we would say, be careful, because a client entering your store and not happy with the experience is going to tell probably to 10 people, 20 people that he's not happy. Well, all these, you know, these paradigms are no more there. If the client is online, and whether he's happy or not happy, he's going to say it. And it's not going to be 10 or 20 people. It's going to be much more, 100, 1,000. So let's see how we can have them support, you know, our influence, being an influencer, and support our messages. Entertainment. I think this is a new dimension that maybe we can have a look at. I think that up to date, we have been very elegant, very not serious, but we've been very emotional, and we've had a way to present a piece of jewelry which has all what we used to call, which we call the selling ceremonial. Now, it's quite important how to present, how to use a background, and all of that. And all this is absolutely very legitimate. Maybe my suggestion here is, maybe, especially thinking about new generation, maybe we should bring some fun, some game to that. And this is coming from my experience in China, where when I see Chinese women buying, and it's really, they are having a great time. And they want to have fun with you and with their friends around and with their friends on the social network. So maybe we could add this have fun. You know, let's do it all well, but let's also have fun. That this is what we are about. The experience is thinking about other industries which were, you know, the kingdom of experience, like travel industry, so trips and hotels. And there is, of course, a dimension to our customers that they cannot travel. Nobody can travel. It's very difficult to travel. And even if we can travel, maybe we don't want to travel. So is there anything that through a piece of jewelry we can take, you know, as values that we can put through, whether it's about discovering a country which, oh, look at that, you know, I'm using an opal and I can help you have a sight of Australia. Or let's talk about creativity, oh, and I'm taking you to Milan. Or let's talk about production, I'm going to take you to a place where we make jewelry. I mean, all this can be about, you know, what we said, the storytelling, but story showing as well. So this is a new wow, no, this surprise our customer. As a conclusion, the first thing I wanted to say was when we forecast, and that was the theme of today, and when we, you know, are here to look at our company and think about, you know, our new vision, our mission, what kind of strategy do we want to implement, and how are we going to implement? I think we really have to listen and listen to our customers, to our clients, to our collaborators, to our families. Listen. I think that then when we work on our strategy, I have these 3 words which I find always extremely important, and somehow how you check, you know, if your strategy is a good one. It has to be viable, it has to be deployable, and it has to be measurable, because it's only for results and measurable results that I can go back to adapt. But once that is done, I think it is so important to scream it. Not to say, just to scream all around, whatever social network, whatever forms. I think it's so important to put this message out as the strongest way possible. Especially because what we do, we don't do it because we want to do it well, because that would be absolutely useless. We do it because we want to do it better. And as a conclusion, I'm back to my classic. So this is Voltaire, a French philosopher. And he said, j'ai décidé d'être heureux parce que c'est bon pour la santé. And it really means I have decided to be happy because it's good for health. And so I think this is what we have to go back to our companies, to our stores, to even staying at home if we work from home, but be happy and about it. And A, it helps for the health, and B, it helps for the health of the business. And in Italian, there is this word, which is gioia. And quite interestingly, and maybe we are very lucky, maybe Italians are very fortunate, but that word has 2 meanings. And of course, one is jewel, so a piece of jewelry, but the second one is joy. So let's keep the joy in what we do. Let's keep the passion. Thank you very much. I think I leave the floor to Marco or to Paola.
Thank you very much. Can you take away the slide, Marco, so I can? Otherwise, it's distracting for me.
Yeah.
Okay, I did it.
So I thank you honestly. I'm always inspired by you, Francoise, because I loved the conclusion of your segment, because you talked about 2 important things, which is one is being happy and joy and jewelry and joy and being joyful. I want to say, first of all, before I get into this, I want to say thank you to everyone that is attending the seminar, because we have a lot of you online, and I'm so excited and thankful, because we have the world, from India to New York City, from Paris to London, Italy and Brazil. This is PHIGYTAL age. We have entered PHIGYTAL age. This is an exciting time, and I know that we are in quarantine still in Italy, you know, so this is my living room, that's my home. We are doing this from home, all of us, Marco, Francoise, maybe even you, your home. This is incredible. And I want to go back to Francoise because honestly, we don't need jewelry. Jewelry is not a survival object, it's not. But we do need happiness. We need dream, we need joy, and we need happiness. And if jewelry are linked to this element of joy, and our companies and the way we practice our business, we execute our business is done with passion and love, like I do it, for instance. I love what I do, and I'm sure you do. Then we are successful. Marco, if you don't mind, I know you're going to ask questions, but I read one question by Pamela Astri, which is an incredible American designer, Parisian by now, very, very successful. She has exquisite design, and she's asking a very interesting question. How can a designer be successful online beside the big companies? The truth of the matter is, Pamela, you, with many other independent designers, can be even more successful than the big companies because honestly, usually the large corporation, beside the big pockets, they don't have let's say they're not as fast and flexible as an independent designer can be online. Now, the difficult part is to really, and we were talking earlier, how can we kind of articulate our language that is a visual language and our emotional language online? How can we, again, translate and project emotions as well product? This is an art that each of us has to kind of work on its own. There is not a global recipe for everybody. It's like a diet. Everybody has their own diet to keep in shape, and but there are like some kind of, I would say, there is a methodology. Recently, I said, last week I was online. Stephen Webster, which is the maestro for this of communication, launched his new collection online, and he made it very emotional. So Pamela, he did an incredible event online where he created an invitation, he sent it over, he required the RSVP to everybody to join. It was only by invitation. He basically introduced his collection from his living room, where he started the conversation preparing his favorite cocktail, and the color was matching to the collection. So what I'm trying to say, he shared an experience, and you are so incredible, Pamela, you together with many other designers in creating your world. I know your world, the world of nature, the world of butterflies, the world of horses, the world, your Paris, your friends, the way you are sophisticated. I mean, I can see all your elements, and then I can see your product. Now, of course, your collection may need to be, maybe reviewed online, maybe has to be, I don't know. Now, if any of you, everybody that joined today from the Middle East to New York, and again, you are enriching us with your presence, please not only send questions, but please ask requests, send your inquiries, because we will zoom in the topic that will be relevant for you as Vicenza Oro for other talks, but then as TRENDVISION for whatever is image, product, and communication in terms of, creating a link between consumer culture and jewelry. Sorry, and then I stop, Marco. I pass the word to you. I was excited because I saw all these people, and I saw Pamela. I got excited.
Thank you, Paola, so much. Now I have another question here. We still have a couple of minutes left, so I'll revert the question to Francoise. This is a very wide question, actually, but if you just be so kind to share a couple of insights about this. And the question from Siddharth is, what do we expect to happen in the jewelry market after the lockdown? I know it's not is now easy, but I leave it to you, Francoise. Just a few insights. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, what I would like to say is that I don't like the word lockdown, because actually we never locked down. I mean, we physically locked down, but our minds all around the world, our creative minds, our intuitive minds, our organizational mind, our strategic minds, whatever, are open. So I think that a lot has happened online, and I am the first one surprised by my own experience. I have a small business in the vintage industry. I never sold anything online for the last 2 months. I sold about 4 pieces a week. So just in Europe. So let's say in countries which are supposedly in lockdown. So this is the first point. I think we have, I know this is a technical word, but I think that we were not in lockdown as people, as companies, and as customers. So I think that post period is really going to be how we can make it richer. How can we keep what we've learned, what we've gained from the pandemic period, and how can we add on? I think this is the kind of how can I say, a way of thinking. There is this example, which is so far, it's an example. We don't know yet if it's going to be successful or no, but this is kind of marketing case. It's in China, where a retail chain has changed totally its business model. There are no more salespeople behind the counter. All the salespeople are becoming ambassadors, online ambassadors. They have a participation on sale, which is much more higher, a commission on sale, if you wish, which is much more higher than it used to be. And the company is giving them the elements of how to be, if you wish, the ambassadors of the product. So I think this is definitely, an orientation. I think we really have to think, what can I do to reintegrate my physical into my intangible? That's how I see it.
Thank you so much, Francoise. I think we are almost there. We have been already doing 52 minutes of this webinar, and we want to really stick to the 50 we said at the beginning. I see many other questions coming up. I just suggest you to stay connected on this channel. The next webinar on TRENDVISION will be on the 8th of June, but you'll find all the updates and about events and webinars on our website, vicenzoro.com or TRENDVISION. And please stay connected with us. Welcome again back to the new normality with the Vicenzoro community. And thanks again for attending. Hello from Vicenzoro, Italian Exhibition Group, and thank you to my 2 big friends, Francois and Paola. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Francois.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Ciao. Ciao.